Hello, everybody. Welcome to Learn Mexican Spanish with Diego. My name is Diego Prado, and I'm really happy to be with you again with this second episode. For this episode, I must tell you then that it will be a little bit more complicated than usual because here we're going to be learning some, I decided to call it advanced slang in Spanish because you will need then a couple of verbs and a couple of extra expressions then to know how to use this slang. Okay, so I will be just giving some brief comments, so this podcast is not that long, but still make sure then to let me know in the comments if you want me then to express the other complements to these expressions. Okay, like if you need me to explain how to conjugate certain verbs, because then we have then some expressions that are not used in English, for example, but we do use them in Spanish, and that would make a little bit difficult for those who do not speak Spanish yet. But you can still use them. You will actually surprise your friends if you use them. Particularly if you have friends from Mexico, then they will be really surprised with them. Okay, so welcome. And as I told you the other time, then you will see the visual episode on YouTube. Okay, so you will see then the presentation I prepared with a couple of illustrations with the also with the phrase then written down, so you can actually then see if you need to see. Okay, so why don't we then start then with the expressions that we're going to learn. So welcome again. And the first one is paro. I'm sorry. The word is paro. Paro. Let me break it down. Paro. Paro. Literally, the word paro means strike. When employees stop working in a company, maybe then you say están de paro or están en paro. But in this case, paro means to do a favor to someone. Okay, and this is a very informal expression. And then you can ask somebody to do you a paro, in this case, to do you a favor. Okay, for example, here you can say hazme el paro, por favor, necesito ayuda. This is something then that you wouldn't say to your boss, for example, or to your parents, because then this is more like with friends, and it's actually really informal. I mean, we wouldn't even say it like, I mean, you should really be you should really have a relationship then with someone, like, very very close friends, to say hazme el paro, because it could be too informal. Okay, then you need the verb hacer. Okay, so you say hazme el paro. Hazme el paro. If you say hazme el paro, necesito tu ayuda, here you're actually then explaining to the person then that you need a favor. But then a Mexican person will definitely understand with what hacer el paro is. Okay, so the expression is paro. Paro. So we say hacer el paro or hazme el paro. Okay, excellent. The next word is ratito. Ratito. One more time. Ratito. Y esta palabra ratito la utilizamos entonces para describir una expresión o una cantidad de tiempo que no está definida y que podría o no ocurrir. ¿Okay? Esta es una cuestión que es un poquito más cultural y que por lo tanto debemos de interpretarla como un momento, ¿no?, que pudiera ocurrir o no. Okay, so this is just a small portion of time in which something may happen or not, and then whenever you say ratito, then you're saying basically then that something will happen, but then at the end you might decide not to do it. Okay, for example, you can say vamos a comer en un ratito. This is the expression. Vamos a comer en un ratito. Notice in here in this phrase, we're saying, let's go and grab some lunch. Let's go and grab lunch, I'm sorry. So then, if you notice in here, then we'll say, let's go and grab lunch in a bit, let's say. So this word ratito is often used at the end of the phrase. And then here you do not know exactly if it's like gonna happen like in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes or in an hour. Okay, so it can be like, I mean, the time can vary from 5 to 1 hour or even more time. Okay, so the word is ratito. Ratito. The next one, it's a little bit complicated because of the R sounds. It's changarro. 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 Literally, changarro is a very informal word to mean, or that means that it's a small business, okay, like a small store, let's say. For example, then you can say, hoy voy a trabajar en el changarro un rato. Hoy voy a trabajar en el changarro un rato. I mean, a person then that uses the word changarro for a business or for, yeah, it's often then referring to a business that you own, okay? And the person that usually uses it is like a person then that we would say is, very casual in his conversation, so very informal, okay? So is you're saying here, like, I'm gonna go to work a little bit, and then it's you're saying that you're going to work in your business. So this is used then if to say that you have your own business. Okay, you can say mi changarro, mi changarro. Basically, you're saying my business. For example, you have a taco stand, let's say. So you can say, yo voy a mi changarro. Voy a mi changarro. I'm going to my business. Understanding then that you're going to work. Okay. Vamos con la siguiente expresión. I think we saw this one at some other point in another episode, which is oso. Oso. Basically, it's the same word as a bear, okay, in English. And then you use it then to say that you're embarrassed about something. Also, that a situation is embarrassing to you, okay? Not necessarily yourself, but then probably you see something that you feel a little bit uncomfortable with, and then you say, oh, que oso, que oso. Yes, and then, for example, I mean, this happens a lot. Imagínate entonces que estás con tu papá o con tu mamá, no sé, o con alguien, con un amigo o una amiga, y están en un restaurante, en un lugar público, y de repente esta amiga empieza a gritar, y le dices que se calle y no se calla. Entonces, está haciendo cosas que te causan oso, ¿ok? Después decir, ay, qué oso, ya cállate. So, I mean, the example that I just gave you, then it's just illustrating a situation in which you can use que oso. Because, for example, you might be in a restaurant with a friend of yours, and then this friend starts screaming like crazy, and then that situation is awkward, and then you say, oh, que oso, ya cállate, shut up, please. It's embarrassing. So then basically then you're saying that the situation is not, nice. Okay, so that way you can use the word oso. Oso. Okay? There you go. Let's move on to the next one. This one is really funny. This one is chin. Chin. And it's actually written like the body part, chin in English. I'm not sure then if I'm pronouncing it right, but then we're saying chin, chin. I think it's the same sound, ¿no? Creo que es el mismo sonido de la palabra chin, que es la mandíbula en inglés. Chin, chin. Y aquí tú puedes utilizar esta expresión para decir dos cosas. En primera, así como ya dices, bueno, te das cuenta de que algo ocurrió y dices, bueno, pues ya ni modo, ¿no? O también es como decir, bueno, ya que, ¿no? Como anyways. Por ejemplo, imagínate entonces que estás, no sé, estás ahí con, y esto me pasó a mí en una ocasión, que yo estaba en la oficina, de repente hablando con una compañera acerca de una situación, estábamos criticando a alguien más, Y de repente esa persona a la que estábamos criticando llegó, ¿no? Y escuchó la conversación y lo que estábamos diciendo. Y yo le dije a mi compañera, Chin, ya la regué. And you can see the expression here in the presentation. Chin, ya la regué. And even the intonation then is important here. Chin, ya la regué. So here, that expression chin, ya la regué, then it means that you said something stupid or something you shouldn't have said. And then the example that I was explaining to you guys was that there was this one time I was in the office, then I was talking, I was just gossiping, just saying some stuff about another person for some reason, and then I didn't realize that the person was right next to us in the office, so the person heard everything we said. So I told my coworker, Chin, ya la regué. It's like, oh my god, I screwed it. Like, I was so stupid here. So this is then a nice expression that you can use, okay? Like when someone sees, or like you realize then that you did something that was not appropriate maybe, and then someone like sees that you did it. Okay, the next one, it's also a funny one, and then written is a little bit different, okay? It's Huschale. 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 It's actually an expression then just said then that you use it then to scare a dog away, like, you know, there's a dog over there, and then you say Huschale, Huschale, like that, and then you are basically saying the dog then to leave you alone, and like to move somewhere else. I mean, you will notice then that in Mexico we have a lot of street dogs, so sometimes you don't even know whose dogs they are from, no? So you're on the street and then you see a dog then approaching you, you don't want to deal with the dog, then you can just say Huschale, and then you need to move your hand just to scare the dog away, okay? For some reason, it's just like people say that, and then dogs understand, okay? Y esta es una expresión muy interesante, ¿no? Porque sí, decimos Huschale para espantar a un perro, puede ser para un gato o para algún otro animal, ¿no? Pero Huschale es normalmente para un perro, ¿no? Es el animal que vemos normalmente en la calle y que pues está ahí rondando, ¿no? Entonces, si no quieres lidiar con el perro, pues nada, le dices Huschale, Huschale. And you need to say it 2 times, okay? It's important. Huschale, Huschale. And then the dog flees or whatever, escapes, leaves you alone. For example, here in the presentation you can say Huschale de aquí. Huschale de aquí. Y aquí no sonó como español, ¿verdad? It didn't sound like Spanish. Huschale de aquí. Huschale de aquí. Slide. Go away, dog. Okay. Next one. This one, guys, it's a very, nice expression. Then it's really, really colloquial. It's informal as well. And then the expression is Chal. One more time. Chal. 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 I'm sorry, my throat is a little bit weird today, so it's just like I don't think I'm pronouncing words in the way I should. But anyways, I'm sorry then. But the word is Chal. Chal. And Chal is literally, here in Mexico we have these subjects that are called rebosos, which are basically, I would say just like, oh my goodness, this is then a good way to describe it in English, which is just like a piece of cloth that you use, actually that women use in certain situations. They can be formal or not, and then you can actually, women wear it like when they are cold, and it's often then a piece of clothing that's for older women. Okay, you can Google rebozo, and then you will find then what I'm talking to you about. But then another way to say rebozo is to say chal, and then here the word chal is to say that you're having a conversation. You want to have a conversation, you want to gossip with someone else. Okay, for example, let's imagine you're in the office and then you are in your break. Entonces dicen, vamos a echar chal. Vamos a echar chal. Este es un poquito complicado porque estamos utilizando el verbo echar. ¿ok? Entonces sería vamos a echar chal. And vamos a echar chal. The verb echar basically means that you are going to have a conversation. It's like saying vamos a hablar. Let's talk with each other, which is something that we don't say. I mean, vamos a hablar. Yeah, it sounds very serious. It's better than to say vamos a echar chal. So it's a little bit complicated. Let me say it a little bit more slowly. Vamos a echar chal. Vamos a echar chal. Vamos a echar chal. Or also, like for example, you're with a group of people and then you just want to have a private conversation with someone, and then but you don't want the other people to hear what you're saying. Then you can say to the person, let's go to somewhere private and speak. And they can say, okay, let's vamos a echar chal. So understanding then that you have something in private to say to someone. Okay, y esta expresión es informal. It's informal. The next one is Keka. 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 This word, Keka, it is the short form of the word quesadilla. I don't have to explain to you what a quesadilla is. There is a situation there in Mexico City. You will definitely find out what the problem is. But then, quesadilla. So the word is Keka. Keka. For example, here in Mexico, we have them at school you can find quesadillas. So then you can say, vamos a comernos una queca. O vamos a las quecas, for example. O, ¿quieres una queca? Entonces, una queca está refiriéndose a una quesadilla, ¿no? Y normalmente eso pasa entonces porque es un lenguaje común, ¿no? En el mercado, en la escuela, hay lugares donde puedes comprar quesadillas, okay? In the supermarket, not the supermarket, in the street market or at school or at work, you can find quesadilla stands, ¿no? Then someone can say, oh, vamos a comernos una queca. O vamos por una queca. Let's go and grab a quesadilla, basically, okay? Also, here you can say the verb echar. And echar, as you can see the verb again, can be used then to say that you want to eat something. Like basically, echar can be a synonym of eat, which is a little bit informal, but then you can say it with friends, okay? Definitely. And then you can use the verb echar then with even drinks or something else. For example, you can say, vamos a echarnos unas hamburguesas. Let's go and eat some hamburgers. Or vamos a echarnos unas cheves. Vamos a echarnos unas cheves. Let's go and have some beer. And then your friends will definitely understand what you're saying. Okay? Todos van a entender qué estás diciendo con el verbo echar. Siguiente. La siguiente expresión es petatearse. Petatearse. Es un poquito complicada en pronunciación. Petatearse. It basically means to die. Okay? And you use it then to say it in a, not in a funny way, but in a less, let's say, in a less tough way of saying that someone has died. Okay? Let's imagine then that you know somebody that died, and then you can say, okay, ya se petateó. Ya se petateó. So then here you're saying that the person has died. Okay? It's like a softer way of saying that someone has died. Yeah. Then, for example, in the news or whatever, then you see then that a person died. So you can say, oh, ya se petateó. Ya se petateó. Basically, you're saying then that a person has died. Y si esta expresión, como les comentaba, es un poquito más informal, por supuesto, y también la utilizas para, pues, decir que alguien murió, ¿no? Entonces, por ejemplo, si tú estás en un evento familiar, ¿no? En un velorio, por ejemplo, de algún familiar o amigo, no lo dirías, pero sí lo usas como para referirte a la muerte de alguien más que no conoces. ¿Ok? Excelente. Ok. La siguiente palabra. Ahorita. 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 Esta palabra ahorita es una palabra que no tiene una traducción tal cual, porque podemos estarnos refiriendo un poco a lo que es un tiempo que no está definido. Por ejemplo, pues podemos estar diciendo como ahorita, ahora, en un momento, o nunca, o quizás, ¿ok? Es como la otra expresión que vimos, ¿ok? So this is basically then whenever you're using the word ahorita, then you're talking about a period of time that can mean, for example, right now, or now, or in a while, or something then that might never happen, ¿ok? For example, someone can say, okay, do it now. Hazlo ahorita. Do it now. Hazlo ahorita. But then, if you answer, sí, ahorita lo hago, then ahorita can mean that you have some priorities. And then maybe you have something else to do, and then you give priority to another activity, and then you do it. Okay, so then the word ahorita can mean then. Okay? So, also, for example, when someone says, like it's my you're in the office, ¿no? Estás en la oficina y de repente tu jefe te dice, necesito que me entregues el reporte ahorita. Entonces tu jefe está pidiéndote el trabajo para este momento. Okay? So let's imagine you're in the office and then your boss is asking you for a report. So then you can say, and then he says, give me the report right now. Dame el reporte ahorita. Now, he actually means then that he needs the report at that moment. But then you can say, sí, ahorita lo hago. I mean, it means that you don't, I mean, you haven't even started the report. Or like, sí, ahorita se lo doy. It's like, okay, that it can be now, but then it can take a little bit of time then to do it. Okay? It's a very interesting expression. Es una expresión muy interesante. This one is also a little bit different, which is chavisle. 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 And basically, the word chavisle can be translated to, or it can be interpreted like a curse. A curse. For example, let's imagine, this is just a regular situation here. Let's imagine that you are in, okay, I'm going to say this first in Spanish. Imagínate entonces que estás en tu habitación con tu novia o tu novio, ¿no? Y imaginemos entonces que tu novia está viendo su teléfono y piensa que tú estás dormido. Entonces ella en su teléfono está, no sé, hablando con otra persona o coqueteando con otra persona, ¿no? Y tú despiertas y ves lo que está haciendo. Tú puedes decir, ya te cayó el chavisle. Ya te cayó el chavisle. Ya te cayó el chavisle. And then here you're saying like, oh, you're busted. I see what you're doing. And then basically here you need the verb fall, caer, and then the rest to say, ya te cayó el chavisle. It's like, I know what you're doing. Okay, there you go. Then you should better than see the illustration here in the presentation on YouTube. Okay. Then we're getting close to the end of the presentation then. So we have here another one that's a little bit difficult, okay? It's a chicopale. A chicopale. Let me break it down for you. A chicopale. A chicopale. A chicopale. Basically, a chicopale or a chicopalarse is a very long verb that means then that you are feeling a little bit down, that you're feeling a little bit stressed because of a situation. We know then that there are certain times then in which you feel down, and then you just like want yourself to feel that way just for a moment, and then even though someone says, oh, may I help you, you're like, no, I'm okay. And then the person can tell you, oh, no te chicopales. It's like, don't get depressed, don't feel down, okay? For example, you can say, estoy achicopalado. Estoy achicopalado. Estoy achicopalado. And this one is a very complicated word, no? Estoy achicopalado is like saying, estoy triste. I'm sad. I'm feeling down. Me siento triste. Okay? But it's a very informal way of saying triste. Achicopalado. And then we have the feminine. Achicopalada for a girl. Okay? Muy bien. We have this one. And then for this, you're going to need the verb ser or estar. And then actually the verb ser, okay? And then you say, eres. Eres quien sabe cómo. This one is like very funny. Quien sabe cómo. Let me repeat the expression. Quien sabe cómo. Quien sabe cómo. Basically, if you rate the expression, it's quien, who, sabe, the verb know, cómo, the word how. It's like who know how. I mean, we made this rough translation of the expression. And then quien sabe cómo means like you're trying to describe a person's attitude, and then you find it hard like to understand why this person is acting this way or the other way. Entonces es una expresión que utilizamos pues para hablar de que una persona tiene una actitud extraña, como que no sabemos cómo se comporta. Por ejemplo, puedes decir, eres bien quién sabe cómo. Eres bien quién sabe cómo. I'm sorry, I was just checking them. I don't know, for some reason my changes didn't change, didn't save in the presentation. Entonces, pues decirle, eres bien, quién sabe cómo, like, cuando la actitud de alguien es muy rara, ¿no? Como que no lo comprendes y dices, quién sabe cómo eres. Entonces, puedes decirle así, oye, eres bien, quién sabe cómo. Let me say it slower. Oye, eres bien, quién sabe cómo. It's like, you're weird, you know, like, your behavior is strange. Muy bien. Okay, and this one is very interesting, no? And the pronunciation can be hard. Eres bien quien sabe cómo. Eres bien quien sabe cómo. Okay. Then the last two expressions. Then we have the expression chiripa. 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 Y normalmente utilizamos la expresión chiripa o la palabra chiripa, perdón, con la palabra o la letra de chiripa. Y aquí estás diciendo que algo ocurrió pues así por casualidad, que no lo esperabas, ¿ok? Por ejemplo, puedes decir, gané de chiripa. Gané de chiripa. Hay una variación y puedes decir, gané de chiripada. Gané de chiripada. ¿Qué es lo que estás diciendo? Estás diciendo que no esperabas ganar, que por casualidad ganaste, por suerte. So here you're saying, if you're saying gané de chiripada, for example, then you're saying that you won, but you were not expecting to win, actually. So you won out of luck. Also, then you can say, eso fue una chiripa o una chiripada. Like when you see someone then accomplishing something in a very unexpected way, you can say that. Ganó de chiripa o fue de chiripa. For example, let's imagine that you're taking an exam, then you can say, pasé de chiripa. Pasé de chiripa. Y pasar de chiripa means, entonces, que pasaste por casualidad o por suerte. Muy bien. La siguiente. The word is coyotito. 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 La palabra coyotito es el diminutivo de coyote, que es un animal. Y bueno, I think we have the same word in English, which is coyote. Bueno, así decimos coyotito. Coyotito, like a small coyote. And here you're using this verb to say, to take a nap. For example, let's imagine that you're working really hard and that you're feeling a little bit sleepy, so you can say, me voy a echar un coyotito. Me voy a echar un coyotito. Basically, you're saying, I'm going to take a nap. Me voy a echar un coyotito. Me voy a echar un coyotito. Okay. The next expression, carnal. 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 Que significa que alguien es un muy buen amigo, que es como tu hermano o tu hermana. Pero tengan cuidado, carnal es masculino. Carnal. Y entonces el femenino sería carnala. Carnala. Esta expresión definitivamente es muy informal. Y pues bueno, pero puedes decirlo, ¿no? Ya con alguien que tienes mucha confianza. Y puedes decir, oye, eres mi carnal. Eres mi carnal. You are my buddy or my best friend. You're a great friend. Eres mi carnala. Okay, you can say that. Then we have the expression órale. Órale. This can mean different things. It can mean wow, it can mean fine, it can mean perfect, it can mean like hurry up, depending on the sound, the way you say it. Okay. For example, let's imagine that you're reading something that is, on your phone, and then that is really interesting, and you're like, órales, órales. So here you're saying that you're surprised, okay? Or then you can say, órale. Whenever someone is telling you, like, I don't know, a story or something, and then you're paying attention to the person, and then you want to react to whatever he or she is saying to you, so you can say, órales. So that one is a good one. And we have the expression cañón. Cañón. Cañón, which is basically like the English word canyon, okay, is you're saying that something is very difficult. Also that a situation is very difficult. For example, here my illustration didn't really match, but then you can say, for example, let's imagine then that you have a lot of problems, like many problems, and then you don't know how to deal with them. And then you tell your problems to your Mexican, to your friends, and then you say, and then your friend tells you, "Qué cañón, qué cañón, qué cañón." It's like, oh man, that's very difficult, or it's a difficult situation. Then you can say qué cañón, or then you can use the verb estar cañón. For example, you can say, oh, el examen estaba cañón. El examen estaba cañón. The exam was very difficult. Or whenever someone says, like, oh, ¿me puedes decir del proyecto cómo estuvo? El proyecto estuvo cañón. El proyecto estuvo cañón. Pues bueno, muchas gracias. Me dio mucho gusto poder compartir este segundo episodio con ustedes. Les invito de nuevo a seguirme en mis redes sociales, en Instagram, en mi canal de YouTube, en la versión en línea. Por favor, agradezco mucho sus comentarios, pero también su calificación. Califiquen el episodio, por favor, para poder dar y a llegar a más personas. Y con gusto también, si tienen alguna duda o comentario de mi podcast, o si quisieran que abordara algún tema en especial, pues los invito a que me escriban y con gusto les abordaré los temas en la medida de lo posible. Okay, so thank you again. Thank you so much then for listening to me during this episode. I was really happy then to share with you these Mexican tips for your Spanish learning. We know that these expressions were a little bit difficult, so I invite you then to go to YouTube, look for this episode, and then try to use the expressions that you can see here, okay? Also, please follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. Remember, I would like them to grow my community and then get to more people now with these visual episodes. And then if you have any comments or something, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram, or leave a comment or email me, and then I'll be more than happy then to follow your suggestions and recommendations, okay? Because remember, this podcast is for you, and then I'm really willing then to continue then with this project, okay? Muchas gracias, cuídense mucho y recuerden que un poco de español es mejor que nada de español, okay? And remember just that a little Spanish is better than no Spanish, okay? Cuídense mucho y hasta el próximo episodio.